This is KGW News at noon.
Good afternoon, I'm Drew Carney. Thanks for joining us here. We'll start today with President Biden's new plan to increase vaccinations nationwide. We reached out to the city of Portland, Multnomah County, and the Oregon Health Authority after the president announced this plan to the country yesterday, but none of them were ready to comment on how the plan would play out locally. The president signed executive orders. Again, the president signed a pair of executive orders. He's calling for all employers with 100 or more workers to require vaccines or weekly testing. And he's also requiring the vast majority of federal workers and contractors get vaccinated.
We've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us. This is not about freedom or personal choice. It's about protecting yourself and those around you. If you want to work with the federal government and do business with us, get vaccinated.
The Republican National Committee, meanwhile, says it plans to sue the Biden administration over these new mandates, calling them unconstitutional. Some critics are also saying the mandates are a prime example of government overreach by the White House. While that's happening in D.C., there's also a new lawsuit that's been filed here in Oregon challenging Governor Brown's vaccine mandates. 6 people came together to file this lawsuit. They claim they don't need the vaccine because they say they already had COVID. So in their words, they have natural immunity. These 6 people hold various jobs that will all be impacted by Governor Brown's current vaccine mandate. We know one of them is a fire chief. Another one of them is a school bus driver. The governor, though, continues to say her mandates are absolutely necessary because vaccines have been proven to help slow the spread of COVID, along with masks and social distancing. And we also have this update for you this afternoon about the infant who died from COVID complications earlier this week in southern Oregon. So we now know the child, who was less than a year old, also had underlying health conditions. Oregon's senior health advisor addressed the baby's death just yesterday.
As a parent, I can say that is very sad. No parent should ever have to bury their child. I feel for those parents. My heart aches for those parents, and I'm very, very sorry for your loss.
This is the 3rd child, younger than 9, to die with COVID in Oregon. The Oregon Health Authority also says it's seeing a rise right now in pediatric cases. Symptoms in babies and young kids are the same ones we see in adults. They include fever, fatigue, general weakness, and respiratory issues. Of course, the school year is just getting started, but COVID quarantines have already kept some kids out of the classroom. In Lake Oswego, 47 kids are quarantined right now after they were exposed to COVID on a school bus. And people at Portland's Franklin High School tested positive, so that means some people in that school are also under quarantine. We know cases will continue to pop up as the school year continues. So this report from Morgan Romero explains the plan that some local districts have in place to address cases when they do happen.
The first bell just rang, and already dozens from Hallinan Elementary School in Lake Oswego are stuck at home.
We were notified over the weekend of a individual in the school who was diagnosed with COVID. And immediately we started doing our contact tracing.
They found 47 people were exposed to COVID on a bus, all considered close contacts who have to quarantine for at least 10 days. The district says no one else has tested positive.
We immediately kicked into our exposure protocols.
We wanted to know, what do those protocols look like? For Lake-O, the school nurse gets notified. They work with administrators and teachers to identify close contacts and meet with public health to figure out who needs to quarantine. Close contacts are notified and asked to isolate if needed. If they're fully vaccinated and don't have symptoms, they don't need to quarantine. Then the principal tells the school community about exposure.
Much of these protocols that we're talking about have been in place since then, so we have a lot of practice with it.
Hillsborough has a similar plan.
So far, we have not had to, for example, quarantine entire classrooms or cohorts of students. So far, we've been able to just do the heads up, and then people monitor for their own symptoms.
You're considered a close contact of somebody with COVID when you're within 6 feet of them for 15 minutes over the course of a day. But this summer, health officials changed the definition for kids in a K-12 classroom setting. Students are not considered close contacts if they're within 3 to 6 feet of somebody with COVID-19 and they wore masks and other safety prevention measures were in place. This does not apply to adults. Local public health leaders say they have a harder time tracking those people now.
With the very high levels of cases that we have in the community, public health is not able to follow up with every single case. We really need to work together with the schools to ensure that everybody knows when there is a case and how to quarantine.
While districts have well laid out plans to stop the virus from spreading in schools, it's on everyone to keep them open.
What we do outside in our community greatly impacts the success we have in keeping students in school full time.
Morgan Romero, KGW News.
All right, we want to follow that report from Oregon with the latest numbers on Portland's school bus driver shortage, which shows the district right now is down a total of 86 drivers. The shortage is already posing major challenges for students trying to get to and from school. Students on 9 different bus routes were not picked up at all yesterday. The district says on top of the shortage, they've also seen an increase in call-outs. And vaccine hesitancy is also contributing to the problem right now. So to try and meet the demands and needs of every student, the district is altering bus routes, drop-off and pickup times, and it's also asking staff from the transportation department to pick up extra shifts. Starting this coming Monday, everyone in the state of Washington will need to wear a mask at large outdoor events. That's because 5 outdoor events in Washington became super spreaders, and officials in the state say they don't want to see that happen again. Governor Jay Inslee's order applies to crowds of 500 people or more, and it applies whether you're vaccinated or not. The same, of course, goes for the indoor mask mandate in Washington that went into effect last month. Everyone needs to wear one, vaccinated or not. We do have one wildfire update for you here this afternoon. The Lake County Sheriff's Office has increased evacuation levels, talking about wildfires, of course, so these are now evacuation levels. And this is in reference to the Cougar Peak fire that's growing right now in southern Oregon, and it's growing fast. Just over the last 24 hours, we've seen it double. It's grown now 4 times compared to yesterday's number. So yesterday the number was at 20,000. Now that number at 83,000 acres. Extra task forces have been called in to help, and this includes firefighters from Clatsop, Lane, Lynn, Clackamas, Marion, and Yamhill counties.